Hello, No Bunk fam. You just have me today. Jay is off doing whatever it is that Jay does when he's not doing podcasts or golfing. But I'm really excited to be here with the team from Pirdie Golf. We've got Kelley Holderman and Jaimee Newcomer, both founders of Pirdie Golf. And one of the things that we talked a lot about is introducing you to some of the movers and shakers who are changing the way that the game is represented, whether it is how you play it on a course or what you're wearing on the course. And I had a chance to see Purdy in person at the PGA show this year. It was an awesome setup, a great booth, a super fun and high energy time. And we're just so excited to have a partner like Purdy who is out there changing the game in women's golf fashion. By the way, the hats fit great. They were for everybody and they were funny. So I'm sure we'll get into all of that. But before we go any further, I love Jaimee, Kelley, for y'all to introduce yourselves. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's so good to be here. I'm Jaimee Newcomer. I'm one of the co-founders of Pirdie. And yes, meeting you at the PGA show is transformative for us in our group. We really love what you do and we're excited to be a part of it.
I promise we did not pay for that one. Jaimee, thank you. Appreciate that. Kelley, your stage.
Yep. Good morning. I'm Kelley Holderman. I'm also one of the three co-founders of Pirdie. I also enjoyed meeting you at the PGA show. Even kind of more macro than that, it was a great meeting. A lot of people having just launched a year ago at the PGA show in person. Golf is about being in person with people, and it was great to meet so many people such as yourself at the PGA show. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I guess the big question is most people look at golf fashion, I think, especially for women's fashion in golf. And it's been funny because we were talking about Nelly Korda, who knocked off 5 wins in a row. The last person was Anfis Orenstein with 2. And if you go back and pull those clips, Anfis had some Bermuda shorts, a lot of pleats, a lot of what felt like cut down men's fashion. That's what we used to consider the only thing available. A lot of people have seen that. A lot of people haven't loved it, but they haven't necessarily said, you know what, I'm going to grab 2 friends. We're going to start a company. So tell us a little about the origins of Pirdie and why you wanted to jump in and do this, because it's amazing stuff. And that is just not something most people decide to do, off the bat.
Well, agreed. Most people probably don't opt to start an apparel company, but it really just came out of need, honestly. Jaimee, myself, and Kendra, our other co-founder, along with some other females, COVID just kind of bulldozed us as it did for many people. And when you're at rock bottom, a lot of what you look for to lift you up is just the connection with the true meaningful people in your life. And we needed that. And golf was really just like the canvas for us to be able to do that. It was one of the only things open, the fresh air, seeing people in person, and just being out there with each other was the original goal, the origination of why we started golfing as much as we did during COVID. And then, coincidentally fell in love with the sport. And as we were doing that, we were watching just, checking in for tee times and watching just the trajectory of the demographic of people starting to play golf, becoming, us being the only women out there on the golf course at first, to then a couple other groups of women that we'd see, to, having it be just 50-50 of, women out there golfing more and more and more, just as much as the men. And so the one thing that just kept resonating was everybody was complaining about the lack of clothing and feeling as though, like you said, women's apparel for golf was kind of like the redheaded stepchild, right? It was like an afterthought of the men's clothing line. And the message just kept coming back to us over and over again. I had just left a career in commercial real estate for a long time, and I was looking for something new to do. Definitely wasn't looking in the apparel. And, the three of us got together and thought, hey, maybe this is just the world telling us this is what we should focus on. So that's how Pirdie was born. And I think that it was interesting because none of us have a background in apparel, but I think actually that's been the biggest gift. Anyone can kind of go out there and redo and replicate things that have already been done. But the whole thing is that what was out there already was kind of broken. So we started from scratch, and we started the whole process, the R&D and all of that from scratch so that we could do it differently. And so that's how we got to where we are today. We've been out about a year now, just a little over a year. We've been launched online. So it's been fun.
I think a lot of you know that I work in the startup world when I'm not golfing, and I will tell you, it's always a challenge. Scaling is hard. Finding that product market fit is hard. Right, Jaimee, as y'all have experimented over the last year, what's the biggest learning you found as you started to find that kind of resonance in the market?
I think the biggest lesson that I have learned is that as humans, we're capable of doing anything, and it's the people that go the extra mile to work hard and create something new that are really inspiring for me. I've been really inspired by everyone we've met, the willingness to mentor us through this process, the amount of people that want change in the golf world. It's about the clothing, but it's about so much more than that. It's about the accessibility of the game. It's about getting more people, younger people, people from different socioeconomic backgrounds involved in the game. It has so much to offer people. And I don't know that it's been well represented historically as something that's really accessible to across demographics. So as women, as Kelley was saying, like I never really golfed until COVID. And so it was new to me, and I have never worked in retail or apparel. And so that was new to me, and it was scary. And there was a lot of fear around that, but pushing through that fear with two of my closest friends has been a real awakening for me. And I think that we are starting to, it's been just a great year. Like we've got the momentum, and we feel like people are connecting with what we're doing, and that has kept us going through the hard parts. And so we're just excited for the future. And just is the biggest kind of thing, I guess, to speak on is, nobody knows what they don't know, and nobody knows everything. And just being able to be vulnerable and learn from other people. That's been kind of the best part of this whole process.
Love that idea of the market feeding you back what it needs, right? I think that one of the things that John and I thought a lot about in creating Go Bunkers is we have some sets where we want it to be, but it's been so amazing to meet folks like you and others who have given us feedback on what it could be. And what it could be is actually so much more than I think what we've ever been able to imagine on our own, and that sounds really similar to what you've talked about there. One of the words you use that I think is really important is accessibility. And whether it is price point accessibility, size accessibility, I think that golf is a game that has long felt restricted in terms of what has been offered. I think anyone who has been a woman in a pro shop in the last 20 years knows exactly what it feels like to see dozens of racks of men's clothing and like 3 offerings on the side. Are you seeing a change in that? Are you seeing that courses and golf apparel providers are starting to get smarter on the fact that they have to serve one or another?
The short answer is yes, but it's a very slow change. I think that where Pirdie started and what I mentioned was starting off an instinct that there was a white space, and starting off the instinct that what we were seeing was a shift, and the data wasn't there yet to support it, but we just started anyway, because we felt like that's where it was headed. And since then, some of these clubs, we have a lot of data showing that more women in golf are golfing, so many more women, and vastly outpacing the growth in the men's side, which isn't a good or a bad thing. It's just wonderful to see. And so now we do have the data to show that, there's a whole market of women and female golfers out there that we need to serve. And I would say that change takes time, and a good change doesn't come when it's forced, in this scenario, right? And so we just have to be leaders. All of us together have to be leaders, and we have to be patient with those that, have been involved and intertwined in a sport that does have years of just kind of a stigma around it, which needs to be removed, but it's going to take, equally amount of time to remove that. That is, in a very, very, very short sentence, what we're trying to do is to use our clothing to remove the veil of intimidation that golf has for women. And I don't know if men feel the same way about their attire in terms of their confidence about getting on the course, but certainly we've done our research and we've asked our customers, and feeling good and feeling like you have the options and you have the ability to show your individuality on the course is a huge, huge component and potential barrier to entry for these ladies to get on the course. And when we have these conversations with pro shops, some of them just aren't quite there yet. And that's okay. You know, they're servicing their members. And if their members aren't quite there yet, you know, they're likely not going to be there yet. But I will say the ones that are changing, they are very, very, very dedicated to the change, and they know it's here and they know it's coming, and there's no avoiding it. And so they're smart and they're getting on the wave. And the other ones, they're just worried that it's not quite what their members or customers want yet. But hey, I look at it as a pipeline, right? The pipeline of people coming up is changing. So you're going to have to start servicing them. And so the change will come in some form or another.
And just to kind of echo that, it's like, you know, you want to make a product. I wanted to make a product. We wanted to make a product that everybody loves. Of course, you want, you know, approval from everybody. But I think the lesson that we've learned is that we're not for everybody, you know, like, and we can't be for everyone. And that people are at different levels of acceptance and change. And we focus our energy where we find, you know, that those little cracks in like the, you know, in the tradition. And we love the tradition and we respect the tradition, but just kind of understanding who's there and who's ready for the change has been really helpful in like where we want to focus our effort and energy.
I have a chance to see the clothing, and it's performance fabrics, it's breathable. It is like really fun design. For those of you who like both a mixture of modern and retro, you've got some really cool callbacks to some 70s classics. You've got the pull forward to the modern golf aesthetic, like that mix of modern and retro with California comfort and flair is a cool combo on the course to see. And you know, I encourage folks, when you're thinking about where you want to shop, shopping small, thinking about your opportunities to get into designers who are thinking differently than what the traditional OEMs look like. And I think one of the things that we really care about in No Walk is everybody does not need to look the same on the golf course. Everybody does not need to look like they're a tour pro getting ready to get out there. You can also just have a good time, and feeling good and feeling confident and comfortable goes such a long way in the mental game of golf as well. And I think that I love what you shared there, that empowering people to feel good on the course matters. Now I gotta ask, because y'all in Southern California, favorite courses and favorite on-course story as friends.
Well, my favorite course is Torrey Pines because it's beautiful.
Please note that was Torrey Pines, not like random beauty elsewhere. It is Torrey Pines.
I do have my favorite for me too, but if I had to choose one, and just on a side note, it took me months to get up the courage to actually go play Torrey. It was incredibly intimidating for me. And so once, you know, and that was a huge catalyst in actually my journey into Pirdie, because I searched high and low for something to wear that wasn't going to break my bank account, but that would make me feel like I was part of the club, you know? So anyway, the fact that I can now walk into Torrey and just own that place, just, you know, that's a huge like thing for me. And you can't compare the beauty. It's beautiful. North Course, South Course, I don't even care. Their clubhouse is fantastic. On that note, my favorite story about Torrey would be us trying to kind of go renegade on our first photo shoot for Pirdie and wanting to get on that course, but not knowing how to kind of get us there, and booking tee times and just trying to get some photographs done. And we were, you know, successful, and we had a great time doing it. But I just thought that was so funny. It was like a whole.
They run a tight ship there. They should. But we did. We golfed and managed to have a photo shoot in between golfing without slowing any pace of play. But that, I mean, you starting a business and you're out there trying to have a photo shoot.
We were hustling.
It was pretty funny.
But if I remember correctly, I can go see some of the results of that photo shoot on your site. So it was a successful stealth adventure to go and get the listen, Torrey Pines is such an awesome place to get your first photo shoot in.
That's right.
And the fact that you did it Renegade, now you gotta go back and say, listen, Pirdie did it. So you actually
Ask for forgiveness. No, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, it was pretty when you're a startup, you're just piecing it together the best you can in the beginning. And it was a babysitter for my kid and a couple of our friends. We got them all, they all got city cards because they live here, because you got to have one at golf. And it was a small miracle that it worked out, but a great story in the end.
We laugh about it.
By the way, big lung for the city tour because that means Torrey Pines is like $40. So if you live in an area and you're going to Torrey Pines, definitely at the city part if you're going to go there. Ryan Kelly, favorite course. SoCal liver.
Yeah, I mean, Torrey's definitely one of my favorite courses. So since we've already covered that one, I'd say probably Balboa, another local kind of perk Balboa course. It's unique in that you can see planes, like you can see all downtown, planes flying overhead.
Right.
So as you can see, I'm not really in it for like, which greens are fast and which holes are, I'm just out there for the fun. I love being out there and having it be a reason to go see different parts of any community, really. So it's pretty cool to be out there playing a game, watching planes fly, just show up in and land on the runway in downtown San Diego. So I'd say Balboa.
Somebody travels 260 days of the year. I secretly do love everything about planes and flight. So being able to plane peep and also play, that's awesome.
Right.
One thing that I love is, startups are scrappy, right? And everybody pitches in. Like, how has it been to share this journey with your kids?
Yeah. Great.
That has been one of the best parts for me. Before this, I had the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom, and I loved that for that time in my life. But for them to now be able to witness us building something like this has been remarkable. I can tell how proud they are in their comments and in their questions, and how they talk about us to their friends and their teachers. And so, just to be that example, especially for my daughter, like we're doing something that's not easy. We're doing something that has been done before, but not in this way. It's innovative. And, they get to watch their moms, like all of them get to see us create something from the ground up. I mean, the warehouse currently is in my garage, so it is like fully infiltrated into our family dynamic. We share our space and they watch the hustle. And I think that's that's an incredible life lesson for them. As much guilt as I may have around not being as available as I might have been previous to this, I think that the ability for them to witness this makes up for that.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that. It's been really cool. I think that in a kind of instant gratification driven world that these kids are potentially or arguably being raised in, it's so easy for them to be like, oh yeah, my mom, like she's one of the founders of Pirdie and it's so great, except that they're watching all of the work that goes into it behind it.
Mhm.
And so they're super proud, not just to boast about it, but to be like, yeah, they did that and they're doing it and it takes a lot. So it's pretty cool. And there's times when we're thin on resources and I'll pull my kids out of bed on a weekend and I'm like, hey, before your game, you're coming over, you're gonna help me pull this stuff out and fill this big order that we have, and that's how it works. So it's been really, really cool. And I think also the kids, my kids have been, I made a complete 180 in my career, and for them, just showing them that if you're not fulfilled in what you're doing, making a switch is okay, and it will be hard, but it's the right thing to do. So that's been a really cool part too.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs, especially women, who are thinking about making that shift? I mean, what you just talked about, managing it with your family dynamic, thinking about your career shift, the guilt of being an entrepreneur. And, I'm very fortunate and thankful for my family and the support that I get. Like, wouldn't be possible without them. But that's a real thing, especially so the thing about this business is you do not start at 9, you don't stop at 5. You're thinking about it everywhere all the time. What would be your advice to someone who's considering making that switch and making that bet on themselves?
Yeah, I think that you definitely need family support, right? 100%. And it's not just financially or hours of the day. It's just in terms of their ability to ride along the lumps and bumps of starting a business in the unknown, right? But I think that my advice would be, don't try to think through every what if scenario, because none of them are probably going to happen, or all of them are going to happen. And you're never going to do it. You're never going to take the first step forward if you try to calculate it all. I tell myself and sometimes verbalize, like, let's just stay in our 3-foot world, in some ways. Like, you have to think globally, and you have to think macro, and you have to think your vision. But when things are spiraling, think about what's right in front of you and what you set up to do, and just get those things done, and then wake up the next day and you can get back to the big picture stuff. But sometimes you really just have to believe that what you're doing is meeting a need. And once you believe that, and you firmly believe that, you have to take a step forward, and you just have to keep taking a step forward.
Just do it. I mean, Nike had something there. If you overthink it, you get caught up in your thinking. For me personally, I'm a thinker. I'm a catastrophizer at times. And so this has been a real lesson in taking it one day at a time, trusting my gut and my instincts, trusting the people I'm in business with. We're very lucky that there's 3 of us, because when one of us is struggling, the others build that person up. I've learned a lot about myself in this whole process. And so I try to focus on that as well when things get hard. But it's hard, and it is intimidating, and it is, not comfortable to do something that you're not comfortable doing. But sometimes you just do it anyway. And you realize that while moving through that fear, you really grow as a person.
I love the idea that on the other side of fear is like a maximum freedom and enjoyment of a thing that you can do, like step off the ledge, and then you realize you can actually fly. And it's a big bet, right? To make sure you get there. And I love that. As a group of 3, as friends doing it, I'm in business with one of my childhood best friends. You have those moments that are great. You have those moments where you're like ready to throttle each other. What has helped y'all kind of see through that as you've grown over a year? Because it's real challenges. You all have different perspectives.
I think taking it one day at a time, and being able to focus on the bigger picture, like what we're doing, has helped me through the hard times.
Yeah, I think in my last career, the reason I left was I realized I felt really isolated and really alone. I was doing great, but you can do great all day long, but you feel isolated and alone in an industry, it'll wear you down. And so I will just constantly remind myself, like, the reason that I wanted to change was so that I didn't have that feeling, and to be able to curate a scenario where we're able to be together on this journey is ultimately a gift. Not every day, not every moment's easy. We try to have fun, and we're actually talking about how, things have gotten busy. We need to layer back in some more fun, because at the end of the day, like, we only all have so much time on this earth, right? And if you want to be with the people you love and have fun.
It is really hard, though. It is really hard to separate your interpersonal relationship with a business relationship, or, kind of figure out how to integrate those two, because what we're doing is just building, we're growing as individuals, but we're also growing as a group. And with growth comes change. And so just kind of being present in the moment, and, reminding myself why I did this to begin with, and trying to just move through the day and move forward has been helpful. But it's been hard.
I definitely feel like, John and I were close, best of friends before this. We became brothers in doing this. And like, I see that in all the ways that you become brothers, because I think there's an amount of strife that comes with family that you learn to work through, right, as you have different perspectives. And I imagine that the idea that y'all are sisters in a way that you weren't before a year later may have some resonance there.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta weather storms, right? You can't just walk away. So, but just what you do with family, right? You figure out how, whether you like it, don't like it, love it, you gotta get through it. So
yeah, we can't, there's no other option. So
one thing I love in the authentic way that you're talking about entrepreneurship is it is hard, right? Like, at the end of the day, people ask me all the time, so they ask you too, like, don't you ever miss, like a more steady 9 to 5, you got more predictability and work-life balance. But I think those of us who do it and we get it, it's just, there's something amazing about seeing things come to life that you were able to see your handprints on.
Yeah.
It's just a unique aspect that I wish more people would have in life. I really do. I think they would see so much more of themselves in that.
And I think, like I said before, if you really truly believe in what you're doing, right? And that's the first and only like qualifier is if you really believe that you're doing it, you can do it. Now it might be deeper than you've ever done before, and there's a lot of qualifiers that might make you successful, but you can do it. You know.
I love it. Wow. For those of you who are interested in the Pirdie Golf clothing, and pro tip, you should be. What is the best way for us to find you, either in person, at a shop, or online?
I think the best way would be at our website, www. So that's on Pirdie with a P, golf.com. And then you can follow us on Instagram, which is where we probably do the best job updating events that we will be at, new drops, all of that stuff. And subscribe to our emails. You will get all the stuff that we're doing first. And we hope to meet all of you in person. It's a community.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be dropping links, obviously on YouTube for when this goes live, and certainly within our community on Instagram. Jaimee, Kelley, any final words for the Nova fam?
Get out there and golf. If you've been thinking about it, just go do it.
Just go do it. It's such, just feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, just move through that fear, because I know that's a big barrier for a lot of people, and it's intimidating. But what I've learned is that, generally speaking, it's not as bad as you think. So just go do it.
It never is.
It never is.
It never is. All right, Kelley, Jaimee, the Pirdie Golf team, check them out. We will drop links. So excited to see you all. We have some more stuff coming up with Pirdie later this year, so stay tuned for that. And we're so appreciative of you and the journey, and thanks for sharing all the time.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, it goes both ways. We really love what you guys are doing. Thank you for having us.
All right, Hillmount fam, we will see you soon.